It's 4 p.m. Stand up. It's count time. It's time for every man and woman to stand up and be counted. I am Brother L.D. Azober, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Count Time Podcast. Now, you know we done gone to the video. So we got here one of the newer interviews that I'm going to be doing via video. We have a dear friend, a brother, someone I've been knowing since he was a little boy.
Yeah.
I got my homeboy here, my friend Scott Vice. Welcome to Count Time.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
And you're gonna be thoroughly entertained. I don't know if you're gonna thoroughly enjoy it, but he's a lot of fun, a good guy. Now he get it from his dad. When we was little boys, his dad used to coach, he's coach and referee and umpire the games, and he was a jokester. Always had something going on. Always had something exciting. Yes. So, but welcome to Count Time, Scott.
It's good to see you.
Now, Scott, brother and I, Carl, grew up on the same age.
Right.
You came out
3 years later.
3 years later. Oh,
yeah.
You're a little boy then.
Yeah.
So we came out of the town called Franklin, Louisiana.
That's right.
A beautiful little town. And let me see. Well, how old were you when the integration got started in Franklin?
Well,
do you remember that?
No. Let's see. We moved to Franklin in 1970.
Moved to Franklin? Where y'all grew up?
We all were born in New Iberia.
Oh, okay then.
Yeah,
okay.
And in
y'all was the only Vice in Franklin, huh? I didn't
oh yeah, we were the only Vice family for sure. Yeah, my mom was from Delcom, and my daddy was born outside of Erath, but he grew up in Port Arthur, Texas, which is half Cajun anyway. And then we moved. He worked at Columbian Carbon, the carbon black line,
right.
And that's why he was traveling from New Iberia every day. So they moved to Franklin. Well, first of all, it was Centerville for about 3 months, and then they bought a house in Franklin at Pecan Acres.
All right. So, about how old were you at the time?
So I was 8.
So that probably was right at the time of integration.
Right, 1970. So it was going on.
So it was
I don't know. It was just seamless to me. I never noticed it. I was always
because you came in
same neighborhood.
When you got there, everything was already in motion. So but the Vice family was always open.
Absolutely.
And y'all was always welcoming.
Yeah. And
that was always interesting because Carl was a good guy, just a class act, always respectful. And at the time, when you had the dynamics going on with integration, people making this switch over, I guess that's why Carl just didn't know it better.
We just were in the community of Franklin. I don't remember any segregation.
So I mean, that is amazing. That is amazing.
In my mind, because we played, from Little League, we started playing baseball at 9 years old.
So when you got to Franklin, you just started playing baseball?
Yeah, baseball, football, basketball.
Did your dad, what was your dad's name?
Douglas Vice. Yeah.
But everybody just called him Mr. Vice.
Yep, Mr. Vice. He refereed high school basketball, semi-pro baseball, he umpired, and he was always involved with all of our sports, usually our head coach, in Little League baseball, because they had 4 boys, 4 of us.
And 1 girl.
And 1 girl right in the middle, 2 boys, a girl, and then 2 boys.
Okay. Now name all the children.
So Daniel's the oldest one. Right. Still lives there in New Iberia. And then Carl, they're your age, he's in Florida, been there a long time, owns a jewelry store. And then my sister, Roxanne, lives in Nashville.
Okay.
And then me, and then Ralph, my younger brother, who everybody knew because he was deaf.
Yeah,
I think we had only Vices in Franklin, but also the only deaf child in Franklin. So it was, I remember almost so many people learning how to do the alphabets and learning sign language,
because of your sister.
Because of Ralph, yeah.
Now, what was your mom's name?
Peggy. Yeah. And so once we all were in school, she began to substitute teach. And then she got a job as a teacher's aide with the handicapped children at Willow Street Elementary. Wasn't it called Willow? Yeah.
Willow Street.
She worked there, and so she had the same schedule as us kids. So going to work in the morning, coming home, she'd be there. And we got home most of the time.
No, I got to tell everybody about your dad, because your dad was a jokester, a prankster. It was just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But he was this athletic built type guy, a real muscular guy.
Yeah, right. But he was 6'2" and weighed 125 pounds.
Soaking wet.
Soaking wet. And so He always joked. He said when he died, he was going to donate his body to science because they would have an instant skeleton. No, I show a picture of him on the beach in Grand Isle, just with his swim trunks on, posing like a musket, and it's like 125, the most he ever weighed at 6'2". I'm 6'4", and I weigh 200.
Okay.
And I'm thin. Can you imagine 6'2", 125? He had a 28-inch waist.
He was a little
And so there were three of us, Carl, myself, and Ralph. As we grew past him, we would hand our clothes down to him.
today.
So he was universal size, man. He could wear a size 9 to an 11 shoe. It didn't matter. Whatever we gave him, he would wear it. But yeah, he was really, really thin.
Oh, he was.
And he had 40 jokes about how thin he was.
But he was just. But he was so much fun, though.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, he would always. He'd be the umpire, like in baseball.
Yes.
And he behind the plate. He gonna do something crazy. He gonna say something.
He was born and weighed over 10 pounds.
So
He was one of 14 births.
and
My
one family.
grandmother had 14 pregnancies, yeah. And so he had osteomyelitis, which was a bone disease. And he probably had about 17, 18 surgeries in his lifetime, but he had multiple surgeries as a young child. But that had to do with his bone structure, but then it stopped and he was, but so he must have had a high metabolism too, because most of us.
But all y'all was still coming.
Yeah, well,
I mean, y'all was all of the whole
Not
family.
now, but
No, but y'all still basically
Yeah, yeah.
lean and thin people.
yeah.
But I mean, he was just thinner than most.
He was,
of the
yeah,
time.
absolutely.
But he was
So
just.
many-
But you overlooked all that because he was always
so
funny.
Everybody knew him,
It just always entertaining the community. Just
Yes.
always, he just kept it going.
yeah.
And you and Carl got a little bit
Yeah.
of that.
Yes, and even Ralph. Ralph,
Yeah.
he's not so, because he's speaking in sign language, but he's got a great sense of humor, for sure. Yeah.
But you came out. You still behind my brother Albert.
Yes.
But you and Albert played basketball.
Bitty basketball.
Bitty basketball
Yeah.
together
Uh-huh.
back in those days. So, but it was a fun time in
Absolutely.
Franklin. But and then fast forward, you end up coming to LSU.
Right.
So
So,
let's just talk about the life of a trainer at LSU.
a manager.
A manager.
Is you have the trainers that
Oh,
do
I'm
the
sorry.
medical.
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
The trainers do the medical stuff, and the managers do the equipment.
The equipment.
You know how that happened? You remember Coach Jeff Boss, right?
Of course.
He's the locker room's named after him. Well, Coach Boss worked at Franklin Junior High School,
He coached me.
right?
That's right.
And Coach Dick McCloskey, who was the head coach at Hanson, one of the winningest coaches in Louisiana history, helped Coach Boss out and gave him a whole bunch of football equipment. And Coach Boss was just shocked that a coach from a private Catholic school would help out a coach from a public school. And Coach Boss got a lot of respect for Coach McCloskey. Coach McCloskey gave him all the equipment and said, "We're just going to get some new stuff." And so when Coach Boss later went to Baton Rouge, became the manager, I think he was hired by Coach Stovall. Because Coach Ryan had got the job and he died in a plane crash, and then Coach Stovall was hired, and he hired Coach Boss in the spring of 1980. And so when he got a job there, he needed some student managers for his staff. And he remembered Coach McCloskey. And he wrote him a letter. He said, "Coach McCloskey, do you have any young men coming to LSU who might want to be student managers? I could use some student managers." And myself and Marty Musso applied.
Okay, then.
And so that's how it all started, because of the relationship that Coach Boss had with Coach McCloskey. And then so Marty and I both got on as student managers.
So because of Coach Balls
Yeah,
and his relationship with Coach McCloskey,
yeah,
who coached me at my high school all-star game,
right,
my senior year.
right. 'Cause
But Coach Balls showed up at LSU too, because he coached me in junior high.
right,
And now, I get here at LSU, he shows up. That was several years later, but he showed up. But also, before y'all got started, let me tell this story here now. I know you're not, you had nothing to do with this, but
Right.
because you have to be working with Coach Balls at times, you still gonna have to be responsible.
Okay.
Hold some responsibility in this situation. But when the first few years we were there, we used to keep the jersey,
oh, I know, yeah,
keep the shoes and this
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, when under Charlie McClendon, there was no big deal.
Right.
Now when Coach Boss and Coach Stovall get there, you all get there.
Yeah.
We all leave for one weekend. We come back. Y'all done went there and raided our room. Y'all done took all our shoes and took the jerseys. And you remember that time?
Well, we Coach Boss and I, during a practice one day, it was one of the Tuesday practices that were really long, because I was the head inside manager, so I was inside all the time. And I went out to practice field 3 semesters, and then I got inside, and then that was it for all the hot weather, and I could do my stuff. But anyway, we took those big old blue bins that we used to have on wheels, and we went in the back of the truck, and we went over to the athletic dorm, and while practice was going on, we went to every room and got back LSU stuff. I mean, we filled those bins up with sweatpants and T-shirts and shoes.
And you're proud of that, huh?
Oh yeah, because they weren't really supposed to have that stuff.
But we worked for that.
Well, no.
Because of us,
that was stolen merchandise.
Our sweat,
Coach Boss,
blood, and that heat.
They viewed it as earning it, and Coach Boss viewed it as stolen.
They can't raid our room unannounced.
So yeah, we had, and so we had the keys to all the master locks of all the lockers. That's where we started.
Now you're telling us, I knew something about this guy.
In the locker rooms, and it's amazing what you find. How sneaky y'all were.
Well, fellas, I want y'all to know. He's my homeboy, but he is responsible for taking our stuff back there. The players came back so bad.
When I needed a jersey, it was okay for me to take it. But
they literally, because we used to hide stuff under the bed. You know that.
Oh yeah, we went everywhere.
Under the bed, we left a lot of shoes under the bed. They done went under the bed. They took all our equipment, all our stuff.
That was a fun. Now we never got as much on any other trip after that initial one.
No, because we knew he was coming back. So we kept it in our car or something. That's right.
Or gave it away.
We think, well, okay, that's what y'all gonna do.
But you got Coach Stovall would say keep the jerseys, and so you got the jerseys that game.
Yeah, but that's the time they started having the terrible jerseys.
I know, and but all the regular jerseys too. But we had so many jerseys upstairs from previous years. I mean, literally hundreds, thousands of them.
But the coach, Charlie McClendon didn't worry about that.
I know. When Coach McClendon was there, they had 2 managers.
Yeah.
Pudgy, Paul Hood, and Chucky LeBlanc.
Yeah.
Remember?
My partner Chucky.
Then when Coach Boss came, he goes, well, we're going to change the whole structure, and we had 12 of us. And each position coach had a manager to take care of his needs, so then we could divide all the helmet, and things got really professional and sharp. And that's really when the era of the decals, things looking right, being polished and shined.
Y'all know, you're right now. Y'all did step the game. Y'all stepped the game.
And then Coach Boss invented a shoe, that Steve Young had on the cover of Sports Illustrated called the Boss Shark.
I forgot about
that. He had designed, and he was, the New Orleans Saints would have problems fitting a guy with a helmet, and they would send him to Baton Rouge, and Coach Boss would fit it.
I remember the Southern was sending a lot of guys.
Oh yeah, anybody had a problem. Coach Boss was part of the guys that started the National Equipment Managers Association. So there had never been an association nationwide of all athletic equipment managers. Coach Boss was one of the couple guys that started that. So you got all the high school managers, the college and the NFL, and they got an association. Just like I'm a golf professional today, I'm in Professional Golf Association. We're a membership together, so they begin to learn and trade ideas and concepts. And so Coach Boss was super respected throughout this whole country and had multiple opportunities to leave LSU, but part of his nature was just such loyalty.
Oh, he was a good man.
He never was going to
leave. Although y'all came, stole our equipment.
Yeah.
Now when y'all came and got all those jerseys, shoes, or what did y'all do with it?
Put it all back in stock. Because
you couldn't use it because they changed jerseys on a regular basis.
The jerseys were what y'all took a lot of. It was the T-shirt, shimmels, underneath the shoulder pads, the sweatpants, the sweatshirts, the turf shoes. Those things that we could use in practice repeatedly and things like that.
Okay, yeah, so you're proud of that, huh?
It's just our job.
you still gloating about that 40 years
That was-
later.
just that one incident was really funny. That was great.
I mean, so
It was funny to see the shock on everybody's faces and to come up to the window and question Coach Boss, and Coach Boss was like, "Are you inquiring about stolen merchandise?"
Yeah, y'all got us good
That
with
was
that.
funny.
I mean, the guys was mad. Now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We was mad because it's like, man, hold up. You know, we worked for this. I mean, we really did.
That wasn't part of the scholarship offer.
No, it's part of the football.
I know.
That's what you get. I mean,
You got a lot of stuff.
you got-
still.
I
You got
mean,
a lot of stuff.
for some things though, you know, at that time they didn't have the NIL, so you didn't
Right.
get
No,
paid.
I know.
Right?
That was tough.
So sometimes guys ask for something, and, you know, they take
But
care of you.
remember, you used to get 4 tickets a game,
I don't know nothing about
and
that.
some of those guys, I don't know. You know,
I
they
don't
used to
know
do
about
some
that.
exchanges. Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know what you're talking
You
about.
probably
Scott.
never did.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
There was other schools did that.
But yeah, there was other schools. But we just kind of,
Yeah.
LSU kept things straight. And
No,
and
I know,
also,
yeah, there was no
the
violation
people,
there.
now, we know it's hot in Louisiana at this time. It's one of the
Oh, my
hottest
goodness.
times. But to us, it was just as hot back then.
It was more so.
I mean, it was.
Oh yeah, it was hot.
I mean, it was
Absolutely.
several times you had to bring frozen oranges and different kind of fruits.
And
out
those
there.
2-day practices we had.
I mean, in the morning time,
no,
we had
I mean,
at 8 o'clock. It feel like it's 100 degrees out there.
and y'all had all the stuff on the equipment out there. We were just managers in the shade, and it was hard. So I don't even know.
I mean, so
I
people
was
say
like,
people say it's hot now, and I'm thinking, well,
No.
it was just as hot then. To
Well,
me.
that summer before 1980 was one of the hottest summers on record.
Oh, that's
It- other than 1930s. So it was.
I had never seen so many guys pass out, you know, heat stroke.
We didn't know about hydration today, like we do today in the
Matter of fact,
electrolytes.
that's when they started creating the Gatorade, right?
Right,
That
right.
time.
It was a Powerade.
Powerade,
There
yeah.
first, and then Gatorade came
They
out.
started creating that. That's, I guess, yeah. Gatorade was created by a coach in Florida.
That's right. Yeah, that's called Go
That's why they call
Gatorade.
it Gatorade. But Dr. Broussard
Right.
invented the Powerade, huh?
I don't know.
Something like
I
that.
don't know. I know he had a lot to do with
With the-
training equipment
yeah,
and particular wraps that he created.
Right, but no, I'm talking about the drink.
Yeah, I
he
don't know.
did something-
I don't remember that.
Dr. Broussard had something to do with that. But anyway, so you all came on
Yeah.
at LSU in the early '80s,
Yes.
and just you know,
Coach
and,
Boss
and it
was-
really he did. Coach Boss
He was,
well respected, one of the best people you can ever know.
Unbelievable.
Looked out for everybody,
Yes.
although we still was mad at him.
You know, it was prior planning prevents poor performance. But there was another P in there. So there was 6 of them. But anyway, that's what he taught us, how to work hard. He taught us about commitment and loyalty and organization and planning. And so we would come in, just a bunch of high school kids, and we left really knowing how to work. And so it was,
That was a great
you know, when he
experience.
had that brain tumor, died in 2003, I want to say, and then we won the national championship that year when Coach Saban was there. And it was an honor of honors of my life that I spoke at his funeral. So
Right,
Coach
right.
Saban
I was
spoke
there for
and,
that, I remember
and
that.
me, and you know, to express on behalf of all the student equipment managers what he meant to us was just super special. I really appreciate. I wrote Coach Saban a letter, appreciated him for honoring Coach Boss while he was still alive and recognizing his, you know, commitment and
Right.
what he had been to the LSU football and all the athletic program.
Matter of fact, Coach Saban had an activity inside of the Lawton Center for him.
Right.
Right, you know, as he was in a wheelchair about that time, and they had this event at the inside of the. And a lot of guys came and spoke and, you know, paid their respect while he was still here.
That's good. Yeah.
And I think within, you know, several months later is when he transitioned.
Right. Yeah. And he's just incredibly impactful. So he wanted me to get my chauffeur's license so I could drive the big LSU Ryder truck, you know, when we go on trips, and that was so fun.
That was fun.
Man, he would.
Okay.
When we took off, let's say we took off to go to Florida, whatever. You know, you had the team would fly, and the two managers would fly, but then the rest of us would ride in the bus and the truck, and Coach Boss would be more excited than any of us. I mean,
like a little child.
Oh, like I'm telling you, I remember specifically. He was sitting in that truck. He was rocking like that. Now, let's go.
And he was a big 6'5".
Oh yeah,
Almost 260 pounds, 70
He was ready
pounds
to go.
himself.
He would ride. He always wanted us to drive. Me and one of the other guys that drove, and he would ride and organize stuff and work on things. But he was so excited about his job and his role, and treated everybody. Remember Pokey and Edmund?
Oh yeah.
You know, he didn't care who they were. They were top class, and he was just treated everybody the same.
But he just
Yeah.
he's from Morgan City.
He's from Lake Charles.
Lake Charles. Okay then.
Yeah. He was adopted.
I couldn't remember where he came
and
from.
his wife, you know, was from in Iver.
Oh
Karen
yeah,
Iver,
right. Yeah, because she's at the bank.
Yeah, exactly.
I see at the
Yeah.
Red River Bank. How you doing?
No kidding. And then he has a full-grown his daughter. He has a
Right.
daughter. But anyway, he was tremendous influence on all of us managers, and we still, all those managers, especially from that era, we got together just a few months ago.
So y'all
Yeah,
still
and went to a fishing camp for a few days, and we just talked about all the days together and Coach Boss.
But that is, you know, we do that to a degree, but with the coaches.
Right.
But you had so many coaches.
Yeah.
You know, there's some who had a greater impact on your life than others. But Coach Boss, like he was the boss.
He was.
You know, even the players he had an impact on their lives.
Right, he did.
And that we still talk about him. We remember him.
Yeah.
You know, we always many of us went to celebrate his homegoing.
Yeah. One time Coach Stovall was saying, Scott, we need this and this period. Remember, the practice is broken down into periods. We need this done and this. And I was like looking at Coach Stovall. I was like, Coach, I don't think we have the ability to do that. And Coach Boss said, what's going on there? He said, we'll take care of it, Coach.
You gotta think I gotta get it done.
Yeah, you go, yeah. So we did somehow. You know, I don't know. He had.
Now, you only do. Did you work full time in LSU at one point in time?
No,
As a
I was
manager?
always just a student
Just a
manager.
student manager.
Yeah, I graduated in a degree in advertising. And then I worked at an ad agency for my last semester to do an internship.
Mm-hmm.
And then that got me into the advertising field. Moved down to New Orleans, worked at a magazine where I sold advertising. But then
What was the name of the magazine?
Louisiana Life magazine.
Okay.
It was an award, went like a Southern Living magazine of Louisiana. It won the highest awards. It was a beautiful magazine. It was really well done. Had a great experience there. But I loved golf and got into the golf. And
Now, how did you get into golf? Did you play golf when you was younger?
nope.
I didn't think
You
so.
know, my brother took me out one time when I was 18. I thought it was stupid. Didn't like it. Never played again. But then all my buddies at LSU played. A lot of the football players and other managers, trainers, and I just started kicking it around. And I don't know if you remember Adam Barrio from Franklin. His dad was Perry Barrio, and he gave me a set of golf clubs out of the garbage can.
Okay.
So I said, Mr. Perry, you still playing golf? And he said, it's funny you asked me that. He said, I just threw my old set away and I put my good set up in the attic. I'm going to take a break. I said, you threw them away? He goes, yeah, you want them? So we go outside, lift the lid up off the garbage can. We pulled this set of golf clubs out. The bag was full of mildew. The shafts had rust all over them. Now I was about 21, somewhere in college, and I was visiting Adam on the weekend from college. And so he goes, yeah, take some fine sandpaper and knock that rust off and get you some new grips. And so I didn't know, you know, that's all. I didn't know nothing, man. I mean, I didn't know nothing. So I grabbed those clubs, and so that I eventually, let's see, 5 years later, I was in the golf business as an assistant golf pro, and third assistant at Metairie Country Club in New Orleans, and then I was the second assistant at La Triomphe, over here, you know, in Lafayette, Broussard, and then I was the first assistant at the Country Club at Jackson in Mississippi.
But hold on. Now, how you go from advertisement
Right.
to what you call it, training, or what were you doing? You was a golf trainer?
No, I was a golf professional.
Professional.
Yeah.
Well, no,
So-
professional.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
So within the PGA of America, we have apprentices, or what we call associates now, or you can be a full member. Like if you're a plumber, you want to become a master plumber. Well, you got to be an apprentice, and you learn to a master, and you get your education, and then you take the exams and tests, and you pass the license, and you become, a sort of licensed plumber, a master plumber, or whatever. Well, same thing in the golf industry. You get a job as an assistant, you learn under a PGA professional. You work at a club, you're getting experience, plus you're taking exams and going to school. We used to have You know, it's, I say without question, it's like getting another college degree.
That's a whole lot.
You got to learn about turf grass maintenance, electric carts, grass carts. You have to know the rules of golf. You have to have policies and procedures on how to run a golf shop. You know, plus you have to play at a certain level. You have to learn to teach the game. You have to have methodologies and philosophies behind how you're going to teach. So we got a stack of books like that you have to study. But right now in the PGA we have what's called level 1, 2, and 3. You have to work your way up through schools, passing exams. You have to pass a playing test first of all. You have to play at a certain level to even enter in to become a golf professional. Because really, as a PGA professional golf professional, there's really two things that you do that separate you. That's play the game well and teach the game. Anything else we do as far as running a merchandise in a shop or running golf tournaments, somebody else without the expertise of being a player or a coach can do those things. But what separates a golf professional PGA member is their ability to play and coach. So you want to have a certain quality of player in the association, and then you need to understand, you know, as you understand more, you'll be able to coach it and teach it as well. But not everybody has a gift of teaching and coaching necessarily. I say there's 3 ways to really create revenue in the golf industry. Number 1 is by teaching, number 2 is by playing, and number 3 is by merchandising. So after I was a first assistant, so, you know, and then I earned my PGA membership, which took about 3 to 5 years back then. And I did it, you know.
3 to 5 years, but how much time did you put in before you got to that point?
Right, just playing and learning. I didn't have any instruction at all.
Just basically on your own.
And I'll just tell you the story. I lied my way into my first job.
Not the preaching.
You know, now today, obviously, Christian, but I wasn't at the time. And so I was in New Orleans at City Park, and it started thunderstorming one day, and I ran into the pro shop to get out of the rain. And there's a guy, and I've got out the advertising business, and I'm waiting tables at Galatoire's, the French restaurant on Bourbon Street. And I'm only working 4 days a week, and I'm just loving golf because I'm no good. I mean, I'm terrible. But I love it. Every now and then. That's what golf does to you. Like 1 out of every 40 shots, you hit a good one, and it brings you back. You know, like because it won't get into the addiction of it. But I looked behind the golf shop counter, and I saw a guy, and I said, "What's your job here?" And he said, "Well, I'm an assistant golf pro." I said, "Why do you get to be an assistant golf pro?" And so he started telling me about.
You never heard that term before.
No. So he said, "Well, this is what you do." He said, "You just got to get a job in golf, but you got to play at a certain level, and you got to know about golf." And but I had just read in the Wall Street Journal because I was waiting tables one day, and one of the customers left the Wall Street Journal on the table. So I picked it up, started reading it, and then the article said that 9 out of 10 CEOs lied on their first resume. So they didn't have any experience, and so they would lie, make up something, get a job, take that off their resume so they don't get busted later. And so I read that, and then I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, man, what better thing in the world to get in the golf business, to play golf all the time, you know? So I put my resume together and got a suit on and drove over, because he told me there was a job opening at Lakewood Country Club, which was where they used to host the PGA Tour event in New Orleans. So I didn't know anything, man. I just drove over there, and I met the head golf pro standing outside the pro shop, and I said, "Hey, I heard you have an opening." He said, "I just hired somebody, but I heard they have an opening at Metairie Country Club." Put the truck in drive, drove back over the river, walked up there, got my coat on, you know, and the guy said, "Listen, I'm really busy, but I do want to," and so anyway, he called me a few days later, and I got that job, making $5 an hour in 1988 at Metairie Country Club as third assistant golf pro. And I didn't know, I mean, I told the guy I was a 5 handicap, which meant I averaged somewhere around 77. Well, I had never shot less than 90. I mean, I never.
But they gonna bring it into the seat. So.
But they don't make you play.
Okay.
To you know, as a tryout. But and so I didn't know. I knew I was a quick learner, and I could just observe and watch. And so sure enough, man, I started working there, and I didn't know basic that today any golfer knows this terminology. I didn't even know what they were talking about. But I picked it up, and so I would go out on the range and I'd practice every day. And I was learning and I was reading books, and the other 2 assistants, they were like, they're watching my golf game, they're like, "What are you doing working here?" I was like, don't worry about all that. Just help me, just help me get better, you know. So I was a low man on the totem pole,
but your ability to build relationship.
Yeah, that's right.
And come to, and you know, and people can enjoy your presence.
Yeah, I worked hard.
And they say, well, he's a fun guy. Let's help him out.
I was single. I was funny. You know, I worked hard. The head pro, the first, second assistant. So the two assistants, they began to teach me. They gave lessons.
They said, you ain't supposed to be working here.
Right, so they started help. We were friends. So I remember one time, the first assistant, he locked the pro shop down and left it to come to the driving range and give me lessons while the head pro was out on the golf course playing. So the head pro comes on a hole where we didn't expect him, and he saw us, and he comes over there. He yelled at that guy, go, get back in the pro shop. He said, I was helping Scotty, and he listened. I don't care about, you know, that kind of stuff. But so they worked with me, so I got better quicker. And so the head pro, this guy was named David, he never knew I lied to him to get that job, because about 6 months later, he said, Scott, let's go play golf. So we go out to the hole, we go out to the back nine, and he shot 40 and I shot 39.
Oh.
And so he never knew, you know, how bad I was when I started.
But you
so I got better. I got better. I got better and better, and then I passed my playing test and the necessary requirements, and then I had a really good golf professional named Ernest Ross, who I worked with at the Country Club of Jackson, and he taught me
Jackson, Mississippi.
Yep, and he taught me like all the right way of doing things, and then I got the head pro job at a place called Palmetto Country Club in Benton, Louisiana, right north of Bossier City, where David Toms grew up. Okay. So David was a member there as a kid, and his mom and his dad and his grandfather were members, and I was the head golf professional there, doing really good. You know, had my own house.
Now you prefer golf over the advertising.
Oh yeah, I mean, that was it.
Probably because you're used to being around athletes.
It was just golf is just it's the greatest game ever. I mean, golf is a microcosm of life. If I want to know about somebody, I take them for a round of golf. I can tell you how you deal with adversity. I can watch how you deal with success. I can figure out if you're honest or not. I can figure out if your character is you know, legitimate. If you get angry over insignificant things, how you deal with all the challenges. Because golf will bring it out of you, man. It'll bring out your emotions, and so it is really. There's been more golf books written about the spiritual aspect of life than all other sports combined. Because golf, it is a revealer of your, you know, who you are.
Your character.
Yeah, and so that golf is just it is a challenge. Look at what all the athletes and all the sports play in the off season.
Everybody play golf.
Everybody plays golf. Because you know what Winston Churchill said golf is a game where grown men try to get a little ball in a hole with sticks that are ill-designed for the purpose.
Ill-designed.
So if you had to create an object to move this ball to that hole, you wouldn't design a golf club.
Okay.
So it's so challenging. Putting is one part of the golf game. Chipping is another part. Pitching is another part. Sand play is another part. Hitting an iron is another part. Hitting a wood, hitting it low, hitting it high. Course management, short game, long game, how to deal with tension. Golf is a whole bunch of skill sets that you all have to combine into one game. Whereas in other games, you get a skill set down and that's the whole game. Whereas this aspect, you have multiple things you have to master. And so, and it's very, very mental, you know, like challenging. Once you've got the fundamentals down right, you know, you go to driving range at a PGA Tour event, and you'll see some amazing guys hit those balls, and you never even heard of them, because on Sunday, under the pressure, they just don't do as well as others that can handle pressure in that situation. So it's a wonderful, been a wonderful, you know, experience in life, and so I was a head golf pro there.
I mean, but I just enjoyed the way you broke that down. Mm-hmm. It's an individual sport. It's a team sport.
Right.
But it's a lot of teaching that I never thought about.
Right.
You know, like football teach you discipline, teamwork, how not to quit, you know, how to get up.
Right.
You know? So it teaches. But you know, you done took me somewhere else.
I call golf the last clean sport. Now I know there's some other ones, probably shooting or whatever, But it teaches etiquette, courtesy, manners, commitment, hard work. There's no one that's good at golf that just happened upon it. Okay.
Or you can't just show up.
It just don't, it don't work that way.
Okay,
It is
that's true.
and there's etiquette issues. We have a lot of success with inner city kids with golf because there's nobody to blame for your bad shot. You are responsible and you suffer the consequences for your mistake. So in the football, he didn't block and whatever, but you're out there on your own. If you hit it out of bounds, you hit it out of bounds, and there's a consequence for your action. Now you get a penalty, you got to re-hit. So it brings structure and discipline into a lot of people's lives that haven't had that. And so you have to, the person in front of you, the one furthest away goes next. And so there's etiquette, you don't walk in somebody's line, all these kind of things, courtesy that is learned through the game of golf. So,
and what made Tiger Woods such an exception?
Well, number one, his dad. I mean, that would be another one. The way that his dad came, his military background and his dad, the way he trained him and raised him, and the mental, the aptitude, the strength that he had mentally, and the drive that he had. But of course, and then some natural ability as well. But he and Jack Nicklaus are top two golfers of all time. And I think it depends on what age you are as to who you choose ultimately.
Right. But they both are like
But it's both amazing, and so I like to look at what those two guys say and did and had in common. And there's a lot of similarities, and that's what I don't. It doesn't matter to me. Like I don't think it matters to them either. You don't have to pick who is the greatest golfer of all time. I don't even know why we get into that. Okay, but when I look at these great golfers, and I look at what they all did, like when I look at putting, I look at the best golfers in the world who are known as the best putters in the world, and I say, how do they hold the golf club? And the vast majority, if not all of them, who are considered the best golfers in the world, all hold the golf club the same way. Well, that's the way I'm going to hold it.
So there is a consistency.
It's called reverse overlap. You don't see, like Brad Faxon right now is the guy that coaches Rory McIlroy. He's considered the putting guru. He holds it in a particular way. He doesn't use the claw. He doesn't use the left hand low. He doesn't use the long putter. He doesn't use that he used, whatever. And so I look and see what the majority of the best players in the world do. And I think that's probably a solid way to go. And Ernest Ross taught me that a long time ago.
Now, when you say you train with youth, or you train professionals too? Who do you train in the area of golf?
No, I mean I don't have any professionals that's on the tour that I coach or teach.
Okay.
We all have a niche and a specialty. I wouldn't say I couldn't, because I have some very elite juniors that I'm coaching and teaching that are going to play one day probably on the tour. But I love to teach and coach people shooting like 95 and above, like your average hacking golf, kind of like yourself, that would just get.
Was I good at 95?
Shoot, that is just kind of, because what happens, like maybe they're a member at a club and they're kind of half into golf and half not because they struggle with it, they don't. And I take them, and 10 weeks later they're excited about the game, they're passionate about it, they've knocked 10, 12, 15 shots off their score, and they're spending way more money, and they're out at the golf course all the time, and they're happier in their recreation. I just love seeing that transformation of a person who's kind of on the fringe get really excited about it. And then once you get them, say, below 90, it's harder to move them down. Not that you can't. So if a guy is known as a 5 handicap, which means, he's shooting 75 to 79 in that area, well, to get him to be a scratch golfer takes more work to knock a couple strokes off. But when you're way up there shooting 130 or 110, we can get you down to 90 pretty quick. And then that really there's a lot of research that we have that we worry about golf attrition, like members or people that play golf leaving the game. So the average country club, private club, loses about 16% of their members. So if you can get a person to play one time, we found this out, if a member will play one time with a golf professional through the year, that 16% attrition rate goes to 8%.
Because it didn't happen.
Just because they played one time with the golf pro. So Club Corp is a corporation that owns 192 golf courses. And they are now, at the end of 2023, they will have hired a playing professional at every one of their courses. And his job is to come in and play with the members, follow up on, make phone calls to the other members that haven't played in a while and say, hey, we haven't seen you in a while. And so he calls members, he plays with them, and then he gives them golf lessons. Okay, and then now the attrition rate for those has gone down to less than 4%. So when we find they take instruction, they stay, and then their spending goes to the roof. You know, the way that I coach golf is I'm doing group instructions, and I guarantee results. So I take my students out, we play 9 holes, and I actually see them play the game. Then I put a golf improvement plan together for them over the next 10 weeks, specifically for what they need based on what I learned about their game. And then I put them in a group with 2 or 3 other golfers. And then they learn in a group, because golf's played in a group. And not only do they hear their lesson, but they hear the other 2 or 3 lessons. And they're going to invariably hear something. They're getting a bunch for their money. And so I have little challenges and competitions, and we learn all together, and they build camaraderie. It's just amazing. I won't get into the whole method, but we're trying to change the paradigm of golf instruction, where in all the previous years you just stood on the driver range and you practiced the golf swing, which is valuable, but it's not the game of golf.
But that's what most people do.
That's all.
We go hit some balls,
and everybody says I can hit it great on the driver range, but I can't bring it to the golf course. And it's because you're not practicing golf. You can't get much foreign than the drive. You have a perfect lie every time. You can sit there and just hit the same club every time, 15 times in a row. You get into a rhythm. You're on a mat. There's no pressure. You go play golf, everything, and I mean everything changes. You never hit more than 1 You hit a 7-iron, and you're going to hit another club. And you're going to wait several minutes between shots. You got to wait for the other guys to hit, and then you hit your second shot. Well, now it might be 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes.
You got to get in the golf cart and ride to the next.
You got to walk or ride up there. And what are you doing with that time? What are you thinking about? On the driving range, you don't have that time. You don't have that in between. You have a lie that's on a hill. You have pressure now. People are watching you. I don't know how to handle the upslope, the sun coming off, all kind of things that aren't discussed necessarily on a driving range. So I'm doing about 85% of my golf instruction out on the golf course, teaching my students how to actually play the game with phenomenal results.
Scott, you done took me a whole other place. You done gave me the science of golf.
Well,
I mean, it is on a whole other level. This is some great information.
Oh yes, you have no idea how much there is to it. I mean, from my research, I found that only 15% of all people get golf instruction.
I never got it.
Okay, and of that 15%, only 2% of them get a putting lesson. And putting is the most important part of golf. It's where we have the most. You're going to use a putter every hole, but you don't use a 7-iron every hole. You don't use any other club every hole, but you use that putter every hole. And I could teach you multiple lessons just in putting, and never talk about the same stuff. And so this effort. This is my favorite saying in golf. Effort without knowledge equals frustration. It's the same thing as a Christian.
Oh, that's powerful.
Okay, effort without knowledge equals frustration. And so that's why, so I was a head golf pro at the club, and I started thinking about eternity. I had some challenges in life, turned me to questioning what this was all about. What is life? What's the purpose here? What's going on? And then God changed my whole life. I mean, literally. And I left.
What you mean by that? God changed.
I mean, I had some real spiritual issues inside, and so I was like searching. So, I don't know how to say it. We are made in the image of God, and God wants this earth inhabited by His imagers. And So our purpose on this earth is to have a deep, intimate relationship with our Creator and to glorify Him in our life. And if you're not doing that, you're never going to be fulfilled or satisfied. And so you're going to turn to drugs or alcohol or sex or power or money. And so that was I was looking, I was searching, you know. And then by doing all these crazy things and staying empty, and then all of a sudden the light switch went on when I started thinking about eternity and God, and I got into the Bible, and you know Jesus revealed Himself to me, and that's.
Didn't you come to a Bible study with my brother and I?
I probably did.
That must have been called.
No, when I was in the dorm at Broussard Hall, they had the Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
No.
Okay, I would go down to the Bible studies all the time.
Okay.
But it would never connected. And I would be out 2 days later doing crazy stuff. But it must have been Carl.
Now, but your passion for golf.
Yeah.
Okay, now when the passion, you went to school for advertising.
Right.
You got a degree in advertising.
Right.
And you was enjoying that, you loved that, you loved the creativity, because that's what you very creative.
Yeah.
You high energy type of guy. So what the dynamics of
it just golf was my God though. That's what I was given. What do you give all your time, treasure, and talent to, right? It was golf. And so, but that's not going to fulfill my spiritual needs.
You enjoy doing it, but you still.
And I'm passionate about it. And now
it's empty.
Now I coach golf today in order to coach life. So by coaching golf, it gives me an opportunity to live a certain way in front of my students, to encourage them, to help impact them in their life's walk. And if they ask questions about Christianity or eternity, we could go there, or the Bible. But so I left the golf business and I went to a Bible college in Stockton, California.
You went to a Bible college?
Yeah. Okay. And so then I got
hold on, Scott. You just taking so many twists and turns. Let the old man catch up with that. You jumping ship everywhere. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. Now, how long were you in the golf business before you decided to?
Okay, so I got in '88, and so I was in golf business from '88 to '92, and then '93. So 5 years. I had gone from third, second, first assistant into being a head golf pro, and I was there for about a year and a half.
So now you'd have moved up in 5 years to the head pro golf pro. Yeah. So you got to be proud of yourself.
I was working hard.
All right, so you're working hard. You accomplished all this, but Scott was not fulfilled.
I was doing all that.
Yeah, but you was not fulfilled.
Right.
Like okay,
there was still something
missing. What's next for Scott?
Right.
So now, when did you come to the place in Prairie where, I done this?
So I met this girl and her family, and they began to teach me a Bible study, or I began to learn about the Word of God, and then I got into a Bible study, and then all my answers started coming. When I was a 10, 12, 11-year-old boy laying in my bed thinking about eternity, that just scared me to death.
At 10, 12 years old,
I would think about, what does it mean forever and ever and ever and ever?
How you get to that place?
I don't know, man. And there was a lot of, I've been told I have an overactive mind. Okay, so my mind would go in all these places, and so I always had a thought about eternity, or what's my purpose, or what's this life all about, that kind of stuff. And was always interested in trying to discover things like that. But so when I got into a 12-week Bible study, which started in the book of Genesis and went from Genesis to Revelation when I was in the golf business. And it was just an overview of the book. And I could see that was it. That's what I was looking for.
The Bible study, you got to take it to the next level. You're going to go to Bible.
Well, yeah, I wanted to get close to God as I could in a short amount of time and learn the most I could about the Bible, because I wanted to tell people about it, because I found it and I know it's the answer for everybody on the earth, and so I wanted to prepare. So how do I get to know God, and how do I get to know this Bible in the shortest amount of time so I can be used for Him?
And now you've been on this path. You You kept the
Right.
course
So
of
for
this
the last 30 years, this year 30 years as a Christian, I've been in golf business and Christian ministry. Sometimes together, sometimes one or the other, but it's either been ministry or golf.
Are you ordained minister?
I was, but now I've got the same ordination as Jesus and Paul and Peter and John the Baptist.
Okay, then. You've been baptized.
Well,
in
that'll
the
happen.
Spirit.
I'm not part. Yeah, absolutely. But I'm not part of any man organization. But I just want to find and do what the Bible says. The Word of God is my absolute final authority. There's no absolute final authority for the golf swing. Sean Foley's a great teacher. David Ledbetter is a great teacher. Hank Haney's a great teacher. Butch Harmon's a great teacher. I could go on and on down the line of famous golf instructors, guys that are young coming up that are famous. Will Robbins is a famous teacher. And but if I got 40 golf professionals in this room right now in the year 2023, we are all PGA professionals. All the same association. We all make about the same kind of money. We all come from the same culture. We're all U.S. citizens. We all got the same background in the golf industry. We all got the same president, the same TV channels available to us. And let's say, all right, all 40 of you golf pros, I want you to teach Lyman Wright right here, LD, how to putt. Just putting. Not a single one of those 40 guys would have everything in common. Every one of them would say something different from the other. Okay? And then you look at the Bible. There's 40 different writers who lived over a 2,500 year span in totally different cultures, totally different backgrounds, totally different education levels. One guy was a fisherman, one guy was a farmer, one guy was a shepherd, one guy was a king, one guy had amazing education, another guy had nothing. And yet these writers write this book called the Bible with no contradictions, all perfect harmony fitting together, because they're not the author. God is the author, moved through these men and directed them what to write so that it all comes together. This is a principle of harmony that you can talk to somebody to say, this is what makes the Bible unique from all books on the planet. There's no other book that compares to that where, like I said, I could even take within the golf industry, much less the whole game of the golf swing, just the most simple part, which the ball never leaves the ground in putting, but yet we've got all these different philosophies on how it's going. So that's when I recognized that this was indeed the Word of God, and it became my final authority in life.
So now that's have been the most fulfilling, because nothing else you was doing, advertisement,
Right.
You was never fulfilled.
It's, honestly, it is a tremendous joy to take somebody and see them progress in their golf game, where they really have, maybe they shoot 110, and now I have a guy who went from 110 to 80, in a short amount of time. That was amazing, that's fun, that's awesome. Nothing compared to seeing somebody's life transform, where wife and husband don't like each other, where they're fixing to get divorced, where the kids are in chaos. They don't have, their finances are upside down, and you come in and you start teaching them biblical principles on how to have a marriage properly, how to have a proper family structure, how to take care of, how to deal with your finances. And not only does their life change on this earth, but now they get transformed, and now they get this future, in eternity with God. I mean, there's nothing like that to compare to that.
As much as you enjoy golf,
Yeah.
the greatest fulfillment is to
Yes,
watch the transformation of somebody's life.
absolutely. To find out your eternal purpose. What's your eternal purpose? That's my thinking.
And most people cannot answer
No.
that question.
That is the most important question we'll ever ask ourselves.
Come in, Julie.
Julia?
Julia, I want you to stand behind your dad. I want you to stand behind your dad. Because this is pretty interesting. I'm actually can you get? Well, I want to make sure you're in the camera.
Yeah.
Now, the dad is in his 60s. I'm in my
What was that?
mid-60s.
Okay.
All right. And we all ask the question, what is my purpose? I was playing pro football, got hurt. Like, why am I here?
Yeah.
Lord, what is my purpose? And your dad just told us, he asked, what was his purpose? I'm advertising, I'm enjoying that. Time to move on. Golf. Okay, but I'm not being fulfilled. So we have to keep searching and searching within self.
Yeah.
You don't just find it, So at 20, how old are you?
24.
24. Are you asking those questions? Lord, what is my purpose?
Yes, definitely.
And,
I think the answer is the same for everybody, but the application will look different.
okay.
So all of us have the purpose to know our Creator. That's why He made us. He wanted relationship. He didn't want little robots who would fill out some sort of to-do list and check all the boxes and just say, oh yeah, I love you because I have no other choice. But He gave us free will, and He wants to know us, and He wants us to choose Him. And so I believe that is everybody's purpose, but He brings us along a journey throughout our lives, and everyone's circumstances are going to be different. Your family structure, the challenges that you go through, what job opportunities you have. And so the way we live out our walk with the Lord might look different in the practical, but we can be born again and be a family in the spiritual realm and learn how to work together, and He can renew us and refine us so that we look more and more like Jesus, and one day all live together in the New Jerusalem serving Him.
Right now, as a young lady, with all the dynamics going on in this world, I mean, and it's like every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're all exposed to so much more. And your dad and I came up at a tough time, but people still work together. People, we unified together. We play sports together. Just a lot of things brought people together. But you got more things dividing people now than bringing for young people. You got all the different. A child they're giving children rights, to change who they are, basically. Not spiritually, but physically, they can do these things.
Yeah.
With all these different things going on, I mean, how do you say, Lord, what's going on? That's another world. It's a whole new world out here for you. Or where are you in the children, in the young men and women your age, the ones that you talk to? Where are they at? Those who looking, who want to be Christ-like, want to do the things and fulfill the purpose of God and their calling. But there's a lot that's interfering with all this. So
Yeah.
I just want to get a feedback on you. Where are the young folks at? How y'all dealing with all this?
Oh, distraction. Entertainment, that's where a lot of people are lost right now. There are more diversions and more ways to waste time, so to speak, than there used to be. We can get lost in a completely different reality than the majority of people in history have even been exposed to in their whole lifetime. We get more information in a day than many people did in a lifetime. And so it all comes down to prioritizing your relationship with the Lord. I see other believers, friends of mine, we have to make space for that because there are many other things calling for our attention. And if I were to get married and I want to get to know somebody, I'm going to have to spend time with them. But it's not going to be a have to. I want to because I love them. And we have to look at our relationship with God in the same light. And if we aren't spending time with Him, if we aren't reading His Word to know His voice, if His Spirit isn't living inside of us, we aren't going to have the fulfillment and know Him the way that we should. It's called abiding in Scripture. And so if we can have that space in our life where we put the focus on Him, but also live with Him, not just living for Him, but living with Him, He can lead us and guide us in making decisions and how should I spend my time and what relationships should I invest in now? What should I pursue as a career, or how should I pour into my children? And just appreciating the diversity too, because God made us all. We're all from the same two people. And yet God loves variety. So just being able to appreciate the differences that we have too. Just because there are differences doesn't mean it's a bad thing.
Now before you sit down, now,
Okay.
you're a powerful young lady. All right, now, but you use one word that just that joked my spirit. You say waste time. In my days, the elders didn't let you waste time because they would tell you that too much time, out of time is the what? The devil works.
The devil's workshop. Yeah.
So you're saying, but these days, it's a lot of wasted time. And you see that yourself?
Yes, there are so many ways to feel good, to have the scripture talks about lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, pride of life is what we're all searching for. And there are so many ways to fulfill that need with a device, with this new technology, but it's not ultimately fulfilling. So you just crave more and more, and so many people my age are searching and empty, and that's why many people are starting to turn back to the Lord. They're starting to search out spiritual issues because they recognize their lives are empty, and they might have like a veneer of happiness, but it's not deep. And so the I'm sorry. I'm
Go
losing my
on,
train of
listen,
thought.
go on.
What was
We
it?
just heard in the car coming over here that there's a record number of overdoses.
Right.
And
That's what I wanted to get
you know
to.
what I heard yesterday? Record number of suicides.
Yeah.
Record in the history of mankind. Suicides and overdoses.
Because people not being fulfilled.
Obviously, what we're doing isn't working.
Yeah.
Because we're minimizing God and maximizing other things.
And time is very precious. We can't get it back. There is no such
Dad
thing
and I can
as
speak on that.
killing
No,
time.
no.
It's really sad.
So now what you gonna do with your time? Julia?
I'm just continuing to seek the Lord every day about what I should be doing, and He's led me more short term than I would prefer in my flesh. I would like a 5-year plan with goals and things written out, very clear, defined, structured way, and instead it's been go help this family for a couple months and live with them, and then help this family for a few more months. I also babysit for a Christian theater company that travels the country, performing the musical of Pilgrim. It's based on Pilgrim's Progress, which was written by John Bunyan, and it's an allegory of the Christian life. So that has been extremely encouraging to believers who are struggling in their walk with the Lord, and just all the things that we face as humans here, but also people who don't know the Lord. It's a great introduction and a way for them to hear the gospel that they might not have an opportunity to hear otherwise if they choose not to go to a church or whatever. So that's what I'm doing for now. But
Also, I want to say if there's a young man out there looking for a beautiful, dynamic, sweet, intelligent woman, you have one right here. And Julia,
You gotta
Yes.
talk to me first.
yes,
don't
I
worry
do.
about him. I got the answer. I got the answer.
I do believe that.
But
Yes.
she's a wonderful young lady.
No,
Thank you for that
yeah.
time. We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Let me tell you, I study a lot about neuroscience,
That's
Which is a-
Scott.
which
You
is-
know, you know.
how the brain learns.
That's what I know. I know what neuro
Okay.
is, Scott. What you doing studying?
Because
You read one book. I know what that's.
I'm not teaching golf.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
teaching people.
Oh, so you get into the brain.
Teaching people. So you have to learn how people learn. Well, one of the guys I follow he's a neuroscientist, and he's a professor and a doctor, and they study how the brain reacts. And wireless changed everything, because we have these EEGs, which we read brain waves. Well, this guy invented a wireless one that he puts on the head of off the golf pros when they're hitting shots, and you can see their brain waves. But he's learned so many. He's actually personally done over 20,000 brain scans of people hitting golf balls, putting, doing different things, and sees how their brain reacts. And the thing that they have learned is that man is distracted every 3 seconds.
3 seconds. Don't take much.
3 seconds, the average guy is distracted. And he came to the conclusion after years of doing this, 65% of the time we are distracted by our own brain. Okay? And what it is all this overload of information. You know the amount of information you can access to this phone right there is unbelievable. And we've never had that in history where we have so much. There are 8 billion people in the world and over 16 billion devices. And they're producing more devices every day than there are people. And so it's going to be an average of 4 to 5 devices per person in the world. And so all this information is just coming at us, and our brain is in overdrive. Okay, so they did the average EEG today of brain activity in an American in 2023. How much brain activity there is? In 1950, that person would be considered a schizophrenic. So the amount of brain activity in 1950, if they would have seen our average today, they would have taken that guy and they would have said,
So you
need some
said
counseling.
it has decreased?
It has increased.
So the brain activity has increased.
Increased dramatically.
That's bad, not good.
No, because we're overwhelmed and there's no peace and there's no sense of, in that brain. To what we do when we perform our best is when our brain has the least activity.
Now, one time, I remember years ago, I used to read about this, that a human being use less than what percent of it?
5%, less than 5% of their brain's capacity.
So if you use it more, that should be good then, right?
No, it's too active.
It's
There's too much information.
okay.
It's information overload, and so you can't even process it all. Like if you watched an old commercial from the early 70s, a TV commercial, it would start and it would be one continuous camera.
Okay.
Today, watch a TV commercial.
Oh yes, it's quick.
It doesn't even last a full second because we can't stay focused. You can't focus or concentrate on anything for very long, and it just changes. And so
Now I'm asking this question here: is the system created that this way for a reason? To distract the mind? Are we being all of you? What do you call that?
you know what they call TV? It's programming.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
So are we being programmed?
Are we being programmed?
There's
Are we being
a
crash
purpose behind
dummies?
it all.
Are we being the crash dummies?
It depends on who you talk to, but yeah, there is an enemy of mankind. God created man, and the first commandment He gave mankind was multiply and be fruitful. God wants this earth covered with His images, and if that's the plan of God, then immediately the enemy wants to stop it. And so that's been working against God's purpose from the beginning. God wants us to be at a place of peace. Jesus is the Prince of Peace. And He wants us to know that peace and that rest.
And they say the peace of God surpasses.
All understanding. And so the enemy doesn't want it. He wants us always worked up, always active, always going, always over. You ever heard that acronym, BUSY, B-U-S-Y? You know what that stands for? Being under Satan's yoke. So when we have so much business, we don't have time for God. We push Him aside, and our whole purpose doesn't get fulfilled.
We're even from Washington, D.C., it's all a distraction.
So you mean that city north of Richmond?
Yes.
You heard it? Richmond, north of Richmond.
Richmond, okay.
Yeah, north of Richmond, Virginia. Yeah. So Washington D.C.
So if it starts there and trickling down, so what's going on?
Well, you got to get really radical if you want to know what the Bible really says about government.
I do talk about the Pharisees and Sadducees. Woe to you, Pharisees and Sadducees, that laden people with your.
If you really look at what the Bible says, the purpose of government, it's to punish those that do evil and reward those that do good. That's about it. Okay, the rest of this stuff is supposed to be for humans and church to people to do on their own, but the government has grown to monstrosity size.
Because the Bible says if you got a art with your brother or sister, you're supposed to
go to them,
not to the court.
No. That's exactly right.
So that's what you're saying, that this,
Yeah, the things that God has a system in place called the church to take care of issues that people. But see, if the Bible is not your absolute final authority where you go to for all matters, life and spirit, and no, then you're gonna find solutions elsewhere, which you think is a solution. And so we have got to come back to the Bible as being our authority in all things.
now,
That's missing.
now, you speaking as a layman, because you're not a.
Oh, I don't pastor a church. I teach, a few people Bible studies, and I have been a chaplain for 3 different police departments, and just to help in any way I can, at time of need when there's a death notification, or help the police officers to stay healthy when they deal with traumatic issues. And I've got some background. I've been certified grief counselor, and of course, when I lost my wife, I really understood and learned a little, much more about what grief was about. So my wife's been gone just over 4 years now.
It's been 4 years.
Yeah, so the way I say it is that she got to go to heaven early. She was only 45, and she had a breast cancer issue, and so Julie, I think, was 18, and at the time, 19. I'm sure it was 19, 20, yeah, 20 and 19. Anyway, but she had gotten sick earlier, and but that was all. She was 12 years younger than me.
But that had to be traumatic for the whole
just,
family.
Oh yeah, just.
I mean, I lost my dad at a young age, and just the thought, how that happened, and now you have a family,
Or a spouse.
a spouse,
Yeah.
and you're looking to the future for your children and
Well, yeah.
grandchildren. And
Well,
now she's no longer.
There's nothing else where the Bible says 2 become 1, except in marriage. Okay, so that's why the loss of a spouse is unlike any other kind of grief, because 2 have become 1, and then that 1 is ripped out. It's not like, oh, just put aside. It's not 1 stays, 1 and 1 stay like that, and then
No,
they
stay
walk through
whole.
life. No, they
Yeah.
come together, and then this one all of a sudden is gone, and then that, obviously leaves that big void and emptiness and gash there. But
How have you adjust?
well, it's just like the only thing I can do is like God talk, help me say. I had a life with God before I met her, and He wants me to have a life with Him afterward.
Because you're still a young man.
Well,
You look okay. You're pretty decent looking. So you get some hope for him. But I mean, when you get ready to, you've been living in Covington.
yeah, well,
you're ready to move on.
Well, when I went to Bible college, I then moved to Toledo, Ohio, and worked at a church, and then I moved to Michigan, where my wife was from, and we got married, and then we went to Colorado.
How long y'all was married?
21 years
Okay.
and about 3 months.
Okay.
But we actually buried her on the 22nd year anniversary of our first date. So that was August 16th, but she died on August 14th. So we were together 22 years, because once we had the first date, we knew. I mean, we just never, but so then we moved to Colorado, where we worked in ministry, and then we went to the Dallas area, and then I got golf business and Christian ministry, and then we went over to the Boston area where I pastored a church and helped them get a big mess straightened out, kind of thing. And then we didn't want to be a pastor anymore or work at a church, and so kind of got out of that. But I just obviously wanted to be involved in community and do other things. And so we moved back to Michigan. So we were married in Michigan. We moved out of state 10 years and then came back. And then I was working with Dick's Sporting Goods, which used to hire PGA professionals to manage their golf department. And then they terminated that position and fired all 500 of us the same day. So walked into work and they said, we don't want PGA members anymore, and so I was out of a job. And so whatever, things work out for whatever reason, but then she got sick, and I was able to take care of her full-time for her last 13 months. And so that was a super amazing and special time where God just did a lot of things, in our relationship and in our family. And then, so then when she passed away, and I stayed there in Michigan and was teaching golf, and then my 2 daughters eventually moved out, and then they were both a pretty good ways away. And then I had an opportunity to come down to Covington, which is originally my home state, and come down, and hadn't been to an LSU game in a long time, and got to go to all the home games last year.
Yeah, I saw you a couple of times.
Yeah, and so, but now my daughter's up there, and my goal, to be honest with you, when I moved here, was that they would move down with me.
This is not
And Julia never really wanted to, because it was too hot, because it's a lot different up there. And my youngest daughter, though, she thought about it, but then she met a young man, and so then they got engaged, got married, and now she's pregnant.
Okay.
And so, and my young man, my son-in-law, his parents are both deceased. And so my wife's gone, so I'm the only parent and the only grandparent of that couple. And, so I said, well, I was going to go, I said, okay, well, I'm going to go 5 months of the year, and I'll go to Michigan. So I can be there a little while. So I had a job situation lined up in Florida, where I was going to teach golf from October through April. 9 months. 7 months, and then go to Michigan for 5 months in the summer and teach golf up there. But as I prayed about it and thought about it and considered it all, I just realized that the Bible says that a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. And so that's my grandchild that's coming, and I just really missed my daughters. And so I'm moving back up there next week, and got some job opportunities. I already have some things, but I'll have an interview the first week I'm up there at a golf course, and got to work it out. And I'll be 13-minute drive from my daughter's house that's having the baby, and then 7 minutes from my brother-in-law, and he has 9 children, and they live right in the area. And then my daughter lives right now. She'll live with me when she's not traveling and helping out the family she works with. And then it's a beautiful part of Michigan. It's a really nice rural part on the western side near Big Rapids. There's a university there called Ferris State University in Big Rapids that actually has a golf management program where you can get a bachelor's degree in golf management. So there's 18 universities in the nation where you can get a business degree in golf management.
So you going back to school?
But I'm not going to, be there. It's kind of cool that it's close by. But I'm hoping to work at a resort that is real near where I'm going to be living. So we'll see how that goes. And if not, we'll do something.
Well, I'd like to thank you today, my dear friend and brother Scott, for showing up today and showing out. You did an awesome job, and thanks so much to your wonderful daughter Julia.
Good job.
For being here and being my videographer, and also one of the commentators. And so it's been a special day to have the Vices here. And the Vice, who are the coolest people because they got ice in their name.
That's right. Even when it's 100, stay cool.
But it's my homeboy, and I'd like to say thank you, Scott, so much for being part of Count Time. And thank you for being here, man. You're a good man.
See ya. Thank you.